So we're getting started. Hi, I'm Joe Zuleika. I am your happy local leadership development trainer and your bestie and your big sister that might give you some good, tough love and a swift kick in the pants if you need it, but all in a good spirit. Today's training is how to deal with workplace drama, how to deal with stressors in the workplace that have us tied up in knots, that have us distracted, dismayed, feeling maybe at the end of our rope, maybe thinking that we want to quit, and just really needing some tactical tools to get through today, this week, and have a better plan for what's going on in the future. That sounds good. Go ahead and give me a sounds good in the chat. I want to open up the chat so I can see it. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I don't have a lot of slides, but I have a few. So this is just me at first. Um, it's me. Hi. I have worked in leadership development in layers for the last 30 or 35 years. In corporate, I had a C-level position as a leadership development director. So I was both working in a job of high stress about being a leader, but also hiring, training, mentoring, managing thousands of people in my organization to also grow their leadership. And so, what I have to offer you is tons of history as me living in my lived experience in a high level position with a lot of stress, managing my own reactive tendencies and my own challenges with how I feel about being put on the spot or exposed or potentially humiliated for making a mistake or my perfectionism or people pleasing, like my own stuff. And then also helping other people with their stuff, all within a construct of everyone's stuff, like a lot of egos bouncing around, a lot of pressure. And I think I have something to offer that I hope will give you relief today. Lots of techniques. So moving along, we're talking about drama in the workplace. And before I'm going to give you all the tactics, I would love to just level set what do we mean by drama? I mean, it's when people behave badly, right? So I'm sharing a screen. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen share. I found this on the interwebs, 10 signs that you're in a toxic work environment. So let's just kind of go through them. And maybe if you're joining me, you can type in the chat, which will not be shared publicly. Any of these numbers apply to you. So first of all, there's just bad communication, miscommunication, not enough communication, people missing meetings, people just not being available, or the communication is critical or difficult to understand or oblique or opaque, and you don't know where. It just feels very confusing. Number two is if there are cliques or gossip or exclusion or this weird, mean girl behavior that happens at work, whether it's guys or girls. Number three is when the leader is poor, when the leader doesn't offer vision, doesn't offer direction, doesn't offer enough support. Number four is when you're working with other people who aren't doing their job, when people are dragging their heels or they're passive aggressive or they're playing the blame and shame game. Five, stifled growth. You don't feel like you can grow in your position. You feel sort of stuck at the level that you are. Six, rapid employee turnover. So hard when you lose people or when there's a reduction in force and then there's all this work to be done by fewer people. No work-life balance when you feel like it's all work and no play, or you don't know how you can fit in play because the work is so overwhelming. I'm still waiting to see somebody claim some of these in the chat. Number eight, you just feel burned out, which is hard, where you used to like your job, but now you're just feeling flattened out. Number nine, there's no forward movement, which is kind of like number five, but it means you're just doing the same job that you were doing ages ago, and you don't feel like there's any path for progression. I was coaching one lovely lass yesterday who wants to progress, but was just told by her organization that there will be no promotions for 3 years, which is so unmotivating. And then number 10 is the kicker. It's like you just know. You can feel in your body when you're in the wrong environment. You can feel it in your gut. Sometimes you can feel it in your throat. It's a visceral knowing when you're feeling a lot of resistance. Thank you so much. Everybody is now commenting, like, which numbers apply to you? And I see one, can I just say all of the above? Every single one. And then another lovely last saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Well, that's like everything but 5, 8, 5, 9, and 10. All right. So I'm laughing, but I want it to I'm just trying to be light. These are heavy, and if you're experiencing these, the reason for me naming them is for you to know you're not crazy. This is happening. There are challenges out there, and I don't want you to feel alone. Hang on, I'm not sure how to enter new gals into the club here when we're already going. Okay, so we're getting a feel for what drama feels like. What are the signs if you're in an environment that is unhelpful and unproductive? But let's go even further and talk about those. Okay, what if this is like a sidebar? What if the tormentor is actually you? What if it actually isn't the environment that is giving you the signs and signals that you have a reason to suffer, but it's actually your thoughts? If you're old enough to remember some of the scary movies that I remember when I grew up, the horror flicks where when we all had landlines and the phone would ring and the babysitter would go and the voice would say something scary, and then the police would call and say that call came from inside the house. Does anybody remember those? Like, Have You Checked the Children? The really scary movies. And it's like the most horrific thing we can think of is that the tormentor is already inside, right? Like everybody goes inside, they think they're safe, they lock the doors and windows, and they breathe a sigh of release. And the entire audience is like, the killer is inside. I'm using this for dramatic and humorous effect because sometimes what's happening is that we have onboarded the torment and now it's living inside us. We're giving it safe harbor with repeated thoughts. We're feeding our own drama because we're thinking about the negativity all the time. And now we're dealing with like drama twofold, drama 2.0. There's already a challenging situation at work and we've onboarded that and now it's inside of us. Does that resonate for you? I see some gals that I know. Yes, that resonates for you. Okay, so no shame. This is just a normal human brain adapting to long-term stress, which is not healthy. So if all of a sudden you feel like you're maybe the instigator of drama, if you're getting passive aggressive, if you're getting negative, if you're getting critical, if you're just throwing up your hands and feeling like there's nothing I can do, I just want to name that as a natural, normal consequence of being in a very toxic, hard to work environment for a long period of time. Okay, so here's another opportunity for us to just understand what is our experience? And again, totally confidential. But this is what I'm hearing on my coaching calls. I have a small group coaching program. I have individuals that I coach, and every single one of these has been named recently by somebody that I know very deeply. The first, teary, crying at work, crying in the bathroom, crying in your car going home because you just have an emotional bubble up and you're having difficulty handling the intensity. No shame. It's like it's on you have a big heart and things bother you. Or you end up bending the ear of your partner, roommate, best friend, cat because you feel like you need to explain and offload everything that's going on and explain all of the dramatic ins and outs. You can't sleep, or you go to sleep, but you wake up with obsessive thoughts, with trying to problem solve. Numbing activities include things like overeating, over drinking, using drugs, things to just shut your brain off. It's like there's a reason why there's Taco Tuesday margaritas and karaoke is that we want to feel something different, and so we infuse ourselves with something else to think about rather than work. Pacifying activities is kind of the same. eating, drinking, smoking, um, numbing out with Netflix, shopping, fantasizing about quitting. Lots of people admit that they're starting to think, even though this is the highest level I've ever been, even though I need the salary, even though I'm the breadwinner for the household, I just would love to quit and go be a barista or sit on a beach somewhere. I mean, who wouldn't? But it's not normal from where you used to be, where you actually got some satisfaction about being productive and engaged at work. Having obsessive thoughts is like when you're in the shower and you are making a speech, when you were thinking of all the things you wish you would have said when somebody pissed you off, or you're obsessing about an interaction that happened long after it's over and everyone else has probably forgotten about it, but you can't let it go. Thought loops. Looking for jobs or going on LinkedIn or just starting to seek, like you're not really thinking about quitting, but you kind of sort of are. Starting to feel depressed and like other things, like happy to hear, how is this showing up for you? Seeing a comment, ruminating, it's the worst, right? That's like, it's a thoughtful, self-aware person who cares about how she moves in the world and is temperature sensitive to her impact. Like it's where we're very socially smart and we care about how we're received, how we impact others. But then we obsess about, did we do too much? Did we say too much? Were we too forward? Did we upset them? Did we expose ourselves? Were we too angry? And then we can go through all of that sort of drama of replaying things. Thank you so much for sharing, people. Love it. Okay, so I just want to also name that if this goes on for too long, we're in trouble. And that's when some gals finally arrive on my doorstep saying, please help me. And I hope that you don't wait that long. And I hope that this gives you some tactical tools right now, right today. I've had gals come to me saying, I'm having heart problems, or the insomnia is so bad I can't function. Um, I don't know anybody who doesn't start to put on weight or sometimes lose weight when they're under stress for a long period of time. I call it sitting and stressing, where the cortisol surges just are through the roof, which is the hormone trigger that helps us lay down more adipose in our body, right, especially around the midsection. Not fun. But all kinds of other things like getting sick, having skin problems, like all of a sudden having acne again, or rosacea, or just other maladies that you haven't experienced in a while, where it starts to affect your family life, where you're irritable, negative, or you have physical pain. And you can even get yourself into a spot where some of the old hacks don't work anymore and you really are depressed. So, not to take us to a dark place, but just to be like clarifying, stress is killer. There's a quote that I was circulating recently, that your manager has more impact on your mental health than anything else going on in your life, because you spend more time, and we've coupled our worthiness with how good we are at work, so that people of authority at work, they have power over our mental experience, our physical experience. It's a pretty powerful vector, a potential trigger for us. Okay, so we probably have set the stage well for what drama feels like. What I'm talking about when I'm talking about drama is all of this, these signs and these signals and these physical experiences. And so, what do you do? What do we need to do when we're in drama? There are two things I want to teach you today. The first is how to handle the inner world, your emotional experience, your resilience to react and respond to stress, your ability to regulate your emotional response so that your central nervous system isn't constantly triggered, so that you can cope, so that you can, because I mean, which one of us can think straight when we're furious, or when we're panicking, or when we're afraid? That emotional experience steals our composure to decide well. So the number one thing we want to do is first learn how to come back to baseline. And I've got some tactical tools that I'm going to teach you. The second is, what actions do I need to take after I'm able to try to calm the F down? What can I do even if my boss doesn't change, even if my coworkers don't change, even if the workload doesn't change? Do what is my only choice to quit? No, that is a choice, but there are many other choices available to you. Let's see what's on the next slide. I might not even remember. Okay, I want to help you by first making it simple for you to see how we behave in drama. This is an old construct by Stephen Cartman, I think in the 1950s. It's a social science theory about the drama triangle. And some of you who have coached with me before may be familiar with this. Give me a hi if that's you, and I'm going to take a sip. Mm. Okay. So the drama triangle suggests that when we're triggered, when we're in an emotional state, we react and respond in one of three ways. So if it's happening to us, we feel like the victim. We feel like we don't have any power. We feel like we're powerless against the forces that be. We don't feel like we have decision making power. We don't feel like we're capable of changing things. We think that things happen to us. The word victim can be very powerful and judgy, and it's not meant to in this construct. It's meant to suggest that we all are vulnerable because we can't control everything. We're not ultimately in control. Even if we are the big boss, the founder, the president, we still don't control so many factors that can make us feel like we're at the bottom of factors that affect us. And that's why I choose this triangle to point downwards, that we tend to funnel down into the victim mindset. And the victim has this belief that we're powerless, that we're overwhelmed with our own vulnerability, and that we just there's no way we can take responsibility for our situation because things happen outside of us that we can't control. And a symptom of it is complaining or blaming. And we all have been here before, so there's no judgment here. There's no shame, but we have a tendency to feel victimized when we feel powerless. I just felt it the other day, like when I was on hold with somebody that, was like giving me the phone tree and telling me, please enter your 14-digit confirmation code now. And I was like, I don't have it. Like, right. I'm feeling victimized by just being a number, by not having agency, by not feeling like I can talk to a human. The little things, getting a parking ticket, getting cut off in traffic, um, missing out on the sale that finished yesterday. Things can make us feel like we're powerless and we're bummed out. But what happens is when we're in that space, we might have a tendency to look up and out to relieve ourselves with either a rescuer or someone to blame, the persecutor. You might actually be the rescuer because a lot of gals in my community are strong with their people sense and have a tendency to want to help. A rescuer is somebody who will listen with empathetic ear and then tell you what to do. They will swoop in and want to save you and give you advice and offer you help. They sometimes will collude or agree or gossip with you. And they add to the drama because they're not actually helping you solve the problem. They're only agreeing with you that you have it. So I just want to give you this construct so you can see sometimes what we do when we pick up the phone and want to talk to our sister, our best friend, or someone, we're actually seeking relief by making someone a rescuer for us. So we want to be on to this dynamic a little bit. It might be helpful in the short term, but it doesn't really solve the problem. Then what's the other side of the triangle? The persecutor. The persecutor is a person or force that has power that feels like it makes us powerless. And when the persecutor is exerting their power, they might be unaware of how it's affecting us, or they might be aware, but they become the bad guy. They're the person we can blame. And here's the thing, sometimes the persecutor isn't even a person. Persecutors can be a circumstance like the pandemic or the economy or the current presidential election or any factor like the weather. It's like, the bride on the wedding day when it's raining, feeling like, woe is me, this is unfair. She's just made the weather the persecutor in her drama triangle. Are you guys tracking this? Are you following? I love to see some chats to know that you're tracking. So what I'm trying to expose for you is for you just to actually have a 2.0 level, like a 300, 1,000-foot view where you're looking out and being able to see, okay, when I'm feeling persecuted, when I'm feeling like something is done wrong to me, when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm upset, I'm going to be in this victim perspective. It's just being human. And I want to be on to myself a little bit that I might be looking to be rescued or to blame someone else, not like I'm looking to blame myself. So there is a solution, and it's the flip. What's the opposite of the disempowered drama triangle? It is the empowered triangle. So this is where the triangle is flipped. And now the victim becomes the creator. The victim becomes she who accepts that she's vulnerable, first realizes, like, I'm not going to gaslight myself and just, turn that frown upside down. We want to say, okay, this sucks. And now what? Right? This happened to me, fair enough. I didn't have power over everything. I never do. But what is my choice from here? How might I choose? The skill I need right now is problem solving. I need to level up from this triangle and look down on it and say, okay, very frustrated, very upset, very triggered, very activated, very overwhelmed, very, very whatever. And now what? What shall I do? So instead of becoming a rescuer, if you're dealing with somebody who's deep in their victim mindset and feels very powerless and is in that complain, blame, and shame cycle, you can become the coach rather than the rescuer who doesn't save people. Oh, look, it went backwards. Sorry. The coach doesn't swoop in and tell you what to do. They listen, but they listen with a sense towards problem solving. It's like, okay, you have choices. Okay, when are you ready now to talk about what you're going to do next? I hear you. I validate you. I'm hugging it out with you. And as your sister, friend, wife, partner, whatever, I would like to now help you help yourself because you have choices. No one is making you go to this job every day. Nobody is making you say yes to the overwhelming work. Nobody is telling you that you have to outperform. No one's doing this. You're doing this to yourself, or you're letting someone do it to you. So how are we going to navigate out? That's the hard part, right? The challenger, if indeed that's you at times, if you get so, like, if you onboard the negativity that then you're actually creating drama for other people, we want to see, like, okay, I can clean my side of the street up. I can be a change instigator without the emotion, without the pushing or pulling, without the blaming, without the criticism, without the entering into the personal realm. I want to keep it above board. I'll help people. I'll be assertive. I will assert my point of view, but I'm not going to make it a me versus you thing. I'm going to talk about big picture. Okay, so this is just a quick, hopefully an enlightening view to see, okay, drama happens. We all have it, and we get to choose how we're going to hold ourselves, regardless of where in the triangle we start. We're going to make a choice that's going to be more up-leveled. Okay, so as you remember, what I said a little while ago is the first challenge is the internal one. It's you soothing your central nervous system, the explosion of adrenaline that happens in your body when you're overwhelmed, pissed, angry, frightened. All of the drama hits you where you feel completely victimized or vulnerable or choiceless or all of that. How do you cope? Before you get into decision making, you first probably need to soothe your central nervous system. You first probably need to metabolize the physical response that you're having inside, the chemical explosion of stress hormones, and then soothe your central nervous system so that you can have that clear thought. So it's a two-step process. Are you following? I'm going to share another tool with you that I've created for my clients, and I actually think I can send to you as a PDF after this training is done, about the hormonal experience that we have. And I'm not talking about like female hormones, I'm talking about happiness hormones. That when we're in a triggered response, we're having stress hormones flow through our body. It's like when all of a sudden you feel like you're pitting out and your sweat glands explode and you're worried that your t-shirt's going to have wet rings under your armpits. That's a hormonal instigator that's creating a response. And you want to be able to have some modulation of those hormones when they explode in your body and your heart starts to race, or you feel um, nervous or unable to process, like you're having either fierce thoughts or cloudy thoughts. That's all a result of your stress hormones. So I have another tool that I think might be helpful for you that I'm going to share, that is something I compiled called happiness hormones. And I'm just going to give you a broad overview because it's pretty in depth. Um, but there are ways that you can um, use the four happiness hormones to really nourish yourself, because it's an inside job, right? You can't tell your boss they need to be nicer to you and trust that it'll happen. We're taking power back. We're taking our own empowered choices to nourish and soothe ourselves. And so the happiness hormones are easy to remember by the four-letter acronym DOSE. It's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So when I scroll down, you'll see the other two there. Now, this is probably deeper than we need to go in this type of training, but I just want to expose that this is what I do. If if my downstairs neighbor knocks on my door and tells me that he wants to now use my parking space because I've had it for too long and he thinks he has a right to it, and all of a sudden I'm feeling activated and nervous and having a confrontation that I don't want to have, and feeling actually indignant because it actually is my parking space and I think I have it, right? Don't get me started. I need to do the same thing that I'm coaching you on. This is real life stuff. I need to first take a pause. I'm going to actually take away my material here. I first need to just calm the F down. I need to actually regain some composure. Sometimes that just means building in a little break. Like, thank you for letting me know you've caught me off guard. I need to take 5 minutes and I'll come downstairs and talk to you when I'm ready. I want to set the tone for how I'm going to handle a confrontation or regroup. Does that make sense? A 5-minute stall is always worthwhile. Even if somebody calls you on the phone or catches you in a meeting or you're in the hallway, you always have the choice. Am I ready to engage or do I need a break? And is it really their urgency that's dictating when I'm going to respond? You get to decide when you're ready. So you first want to get some composure, some time, and metabolize your experience. With many of my experiences, I'm a talker. I kind of need to talk it out. I want to verbalize it with somebody, or I need to write it down if there's nobody. I need to kind of be like, what's stressing me out right now? What just triggered me? And I need to walk myself through it. I need to understand what's going on. This is part of the metabolizing of the stress, right? Is understanding what it is. Offline, away from others, in private, right? I'm processing what just happened. Sometimes just thinking and talking isn't enough. And I've had actually some very poignant conversations in my small group program recently with a woman that was just so hot and bothered, so bad. It's like no bit of like, yoga breathing, box breathing, if you know what that is, 4-7-8 breathing was going to do it. She needed to go for a run. Sometimes the catastrophe that's going on inside needs to be expended before we even talk ourselves off the ledge. Run up the stairs, keep doing it, go outside, splash cold water on your face, take a moment, go to the bathroom, lock yourself in a stall. Often shifting the energy is what's needed. And like literally running, pushing, or shaking. So by that, I mean like the running up the stairs. Pushing is a way, like if you're in an environment like I am right now, and if I'm being triggered on a Zoom call, I actually do things like I push as if I'm going to stand up from my chair. I'm activating muscles. I'm pushing the heels of my feet onto the ground. I'm clenching my buttocks. I'm like, "Ugh," like I'm actually needing to expend all of this energy that's racing through my body. I need to metabolize the chemicals. If I'm not on camera, I actually might shake. I might like just try to shake all of this fury, this anger, this pain, this sadness, this overwhelm out because it's going to be part of how I clear the deck so I can have a thought. For me, I sort of, my brain, you know, that little emoji of the brain that explodes, that's me. And I never have my words when I'm really activated. I don't have like this beautiful eloquence. I don't make great speeches or rebuttals. I kind of panic or freeze or get dumb, like verbally shut up. So I need to actually clear the deck so that I can then come back online. Is this resonating for you? I want to read in the chat. Taking space has helped me self-regulate. Yeah, thank you for that one. I cry. Every time I'm angry, I cry. I hate that about myself. You know what? Maybe it's time to just go, that's me. That's the way my emotions bubble out. They come out here. They come out of my tear ducts. And it's partly how I just need to offload. I need to process those emotions. I've heard people say tears are healing properties. It's like it's how you heal. Is you got to get the mad out. You got to get the sad out. You got to get all the that's part of the process. So let's just be okay with the emotionalism. We know that it's just part of us processing getting where we need to be. We're not going to stay there forever. We're not going to indulge that forever. We're going to let that flow through us and then we're going to move on. I've got a bunch more tactical tips about how you can calm down, but maybe I'll just name them and not go deep into them. I mentioned box breathing. It's just breathing in and out on the vertical and holding on the horizontal. And you just navigate your breathing like you're just babying yourself because often you know you should breathe, but you don't do it intentionally. And then if you're good at it, you start doing the box slower in your mind's eye. You can do this when you're on camera. You can do it when you're activated. It's not just woo woo zen, like trying to calm your thoughts. It's proven to reduce the negative fight or flight chemistry and bring on the calm chemistry. Anything that has to do with depressing your diaphragm, which activates something called the vagal nerve, which stretches all the way out alongside your neck, calms you down. That's why if you were able to hold your head like this and look up the opposite way, you're gently stretching that vagal nerve that brings the calm response on. I hope what you're seeing, it's like what you're dealing with is when you have a dumpster fire of emotions, before you start acting, you need to put the fire out. Right? We're figuring out, how do I activate all of my tools, my happiness hormones, my calm and respond, my vagus nerve? How do I help myself come back to baseline? And then we talk about what actions you'll take. So far, just to recap, we've been talking about dealing with the emotional load of stress. When we're in drama, it'll come like a shock wave. It can come like a sonic boom, like when all of a sudden you feel triggered, activated, overwhelmed. That stress needs to be metabolized, digested, and processed before anything else. Otherwise, it sits and stews. And that stuff happens that I shared on the slides before, where you start to have long-term health issues, where you can't sleep, or your heart's bothering you, or you have skin problems, you gain weight. This is a signal that you're not actively, completely processing the stress that is in your body when you're in a workplace toxic experience. And if it goes on for a long period of time, this means we need to be like getting more buckets from the river so that we can put the dumpster fire out, because every day we're going to feel activated and like the spark flares up again. This doesn't mean It doesn't mean that you have to leave your workplace. It means that if you're getting triggered on a daily basis, your focus needs to be on how am I supporting myself in this highly triggered environment. I can't just suck it up and go back every day without really tending to myself, my emotional resilience, my central nervous system. Because what happens is it just stews and brews. I'm not getting it out. And that is when we're going to have some long-term issues. Are you tracking? Okay. I'm also going to be opening up this for questions. So if you're feeling like, yeah, but it's time to start typing those. Like I won't put you on camera. We're not going to reveal your identity, but you can actually ask for coaching in this kind of one-way broadcast because it's part of how we make it real, right? Like I'm trying to make it real just talking about a conflict I had with my downstairs neighbor over parking. You want to know, but how do I actually do this in real time? So we're recapping. The first thing is we're figuring out our emotional resilience to stressors. And then we're going to figure out what to do once we calm down. But before I take us beyond that, let me go ahead and indulge this just a little bit more in case you were looking at it. You're like, wait, what did it say? Really brief overview. These are the hormones that we can be always focused on generating. They don't put the dumpster fire out right like that, but they are important for our overall well-being and our feeling of happiness, like our health and our happiness. Dopamine is the reward chemical that we're all bathing in every time that we write a to-do list and cross something off. It's anytime you're being productive, that you're getting something done. But you can actually give yourself dopamine through various activities that allow for self-care or self-reward or self-recognition. That's what that whole quadrant is there. The O stands for oxytocin. It's the love hormone. And this is when you just got to go get a hug or pet your cat or laugh with your kids. It is shown that skin to skin contact really increases oxytocin. If you know anything about a newborn, the bonding that happens with the parent is skin on skin contact, and especially nursing brings a flood of oxytocin to the lactating mother who suddenly falls in love with this screaming, squirming red creature that she now has to take care of and not sleep. It's like nature's way of ensuring the survival of the species is what gives us so much oxytocin and love. And you can go get some through a lot of things, including buying a massage or a pedicure, and being with a partner and having long cuddling hugs. Again, it might seem like, Joe, this is a thimble of water on a dumpster fire. It won't solve my problems, but yes, it's what you want in life. So if there's such an imbalance that the heat of the toxicity that you're experiencing doesn't allow for the thimblefuls of happiness hormones, then we want to really address how you're responding to that toxicity, because this is the good stuff. All right, I'm just going to scroll down. Serotonin, if you're familiar with antidepressants, serotonin is oh, there's a comment and a quote in the chat. If those of you who are joining us live can see it. A note of caution: a bad day at work and going to the shelter to play with puppies could equal a puppy coming home with you. Is that a real life story? It sounds like you already are well on to how to soothe your nervous system and increase happiness hormones if that is you going to a shelter to play with puppies. Serotonin it actually generates in our gut, which is kind of crazy. So it's a very kind of deep and not obvious way to trigger. Like you can't stimulate your intestines to grow serotonin quickly, but you can generate it through some activities that are basically like major muscle group rhythmic activities like swimming, running, hiking, walking, tai chi, some yoga. Things that are very rhythmic can help nourish the natural antidepressant that flows in our bodies. Also, sunlight, which is why so many of us experience seasonal affect disorder, where in the wintertime we feel depressed. Being outside helps. So a little bit about serotonin, and then last is endorphins, and you probably already know that that's the universal painkiller, the runner's high. Like vigorous activity brings on this, but also laughing. Laughing helps heaps. Do you know how, like, when you have a laugh with a good friend and you just feel like it was the best therapy ever? It was just such a release. It just felt so relieving. It's why people will spend $200, $300 to go to a comedy show because they know they're going to feel good. They don't actually do the math and think, I'm going to go buy myself some endorphins. But that's essentially what their primal brain is doing, saying, I want to have a couple of drinks, I want to be with my friend, and I want to laugh my ass off. That feels good. So, for a while when I was in corporate, I actually had some reels, some YouTube reels of things that always made me crack up. I was lucky enough to have a private office, and sometimes when I was having a bad day, I would watch things that I knew would guarantee to make me laugh. And it was only later, as a full-time coach, that I realized what I was doing. I had figured out my own organic way to dose myself with some endorphins. So there are also things that can do it too, like spicy foods and chocolate that can stimulate this part of your brain that processes, that develops endorphins. So there you go. If you really like this, I'll you can ask me to send it to you. I'll try to figure out how to do that. But those of you who are clients or past clients, you actually have access to this in our members portal. I see you. I know you. Okay, so now here's the part where I'm going to be that big sister that kind of says, all right, girlfriend, remember what we said about the drama triangle? There's only so much consoling and agreeing with how terrible it is that we do until we start to take productive action. And this is the hard part because it means that you're going to have to do something different than what you do automatically. If you're in chronic stress, chances are your automatic behavior is continuing to feed whatever experience it is that you're having. So I'll be specific. If you're a people pleaser, if you don't like conflict, if you want to go along to get along, if you like people to be happy with you, if you fear rejection, you may be inadvertently creating your own dramatic consequences by not saying no, by not having boundaries, by trying to perform, by being incredibly productive and winning people over with what a star performer you are. So we need to look at the behaviors that we're holding, sometimes on autopilot, that are creating this long-term reaction to stress. If you look around you and not everybody's stressed, some people are doing it differently. Some people are finding a way to care less. And I'm not saying don't be excellent. I'm saying don't shred your life for your job because you think you have to. That's a belief that needs to be challenged. There's some inner dialogue that's going on that's preventing you from having a boundary, saying no, which is kind of like having a boundary, or asking for what you need. Usually it's one of those three things. This is one of these three things is what we're going to need to work on to help you navigate work drama, even if nothing else changes, even if the bad boss is there, or the overwhelming workload, or the passive aggressive coworkers. So is it that you need better boundaries? You need to say no. Or what was the third thing that I said? You win if you put it in there. So what often needs to happen is we need to make a decision that the way that you've been operating is not what is succeeding long term. It's what maybe was a burst of beautiful productivity that cannot be sustained at that level ongoing, and it's not normal to try. Doesn't mean that that you somehow should be better. It means that the strategy that of being impressive and being productive and trying to win and not lose isn't a long-term strategy. The strategies that you need to develop is number 1, boundaries. And by boundaries, I mean almost energetic boundaries, where if somebody says, "Can you do this for me?" and you think, "Oh, I want to say yes. I want them to like me. I don't want to say no. I want to please them." That's a boundary right there. My feelings towards wanting to be pleasing, to want to impress. That's my first challenge, is saying, I made a decision. I don't do that anymore. I have a new policy. You can say that out loud. You could say, you know what? I used to always say yes. And now I think about it first, but send me an email. I want to review that. Let me know a little bit more. Let me think if that fits. Delay, delay, delay. Don't say yes. Say, I'll think about it. So the first boundary is your energetic boundary. How do you take on people's requests? Can you be okay with not doing everything? What are you making it mean that you don't do everything? Look at people who don't do everything and still have peace of mind. Notice that there's a different way of holding yourself. It's a decision that they make. This is important. You already do it because you're not actually solving global warming right now. You know it needs to be done, but you're not doing that. You're busy at work. You made a decision. It was sort of a default decision. I'm assuming none of you are actually working on climate change in your job. But what I'm kind of saying is that there's no way you can focus on all the things at all the time. So you're making choices. All right. So there's a question. I'm not sure that my leader would react well to saying no. Fair enough. And now what? How do you hold yourself when it's not, doesn't feel safe or reasonable to have a boundary? How do you handle perhaps blowback or confrontation or being put on the spot? This is the work, right? It's deciding I'm not defined by my job. I am good enough. It isn't reasonable for me to do everything. And so I'm going to start behaving differently. This is the power that you have to exit out of your own drama triangle. Sometimes I might give you like some shortcuts, because this usually has to do with deeply held beliefs about your own worthiness and your performance and your perfunctory, how you hold yourself at work to gain safety. Usually has to do with a longer term belief that needs to be shifted and kind of pulled out by the root so that we can get you some more constructive, you know, peace. But I'll give you some shortcuts. Imagery works really, really well. I love it. This is a past client. Things changed when I changed. Bingo. When you decided you're not going to do everything or be everything for everyone. When you decide at 5:05 p.m., if I'm not in my car, I made a mistake. No shame, no blame. I got to get in the car. It's time to go. That's if you work outside the home, right? Okay. So imagery I found has worked really, really well with some of my newer clients that just are in the dumpster fire piece. It's like, first, let's try to calm the central nervous system, get some of those resilient, emotional resilient factors on board, work on our happiness hormones, work on our inner world. And then how do I have a an emotional boundary at work where I don't feel assaulted by other people and their behavior all day, every day? Sometimes imagery is really helpful. So I'll give you a couple that have worked for some. One is the redwood tree. Like, you're this goddess of the forest, 300 years old, 300-foot tall, home and house to all the lovely living creatures, the woodpeckers and squirrels. And you sway. The wind comes, the rain comes, the night falls, the day breaks, and you just sway. You're here for the long game. Little things don't bother you. One little woodpecker on your branch does not ruin you. You are deeper than that. You are broader than that. You are older than that. And that's how you hold yourself. You don't react and respond to every little breeze. You're this wisdom holder. So think about that. Like, if you adopt the the frame of the redwood, what would that be like? What would you be saying no to or yes to? How would you move? What's your long game? All right, another image is the snow globe. I love the snow globe. You're inside your own snow globe. You have this impervious, clear plastic membrane. Other people can see through it. They think they can see you, but no, they're just looking inside your globe. You have this bubble around you that no one else gets to puncture. And if you get shaken and rattled and rolled, yes, the snow kind of like goes everywhere, but it settles. You just got to figure out how to do it faster, how to recover fully, and then you can see out again. But you are your own globe, and everybody else is their own snow globe. And their drama is not your drama. Their snow is not your snow. So when you're in those triggering experiences, you can just be like, oh, snow globe, snow globe, snow globe. I see them. Some of them are really stirred up. Not me. I'm calm. I'm holding myself. I get to decide how I'm going to be. And then even better yet is you decide who gets to shake your snow up and who doesn't. Do you like that one? Another one that I love, I'll give you one quick one. Oh my gosh, we're almost at time. Is you're the queen of the castle. You are sovereign. You are the badass boss woman of the whole land, of the fiefdom. You live in a castle. You got the big crown on your head. You can sit on a throne. And you have a moat around your castle. That moat is your boundary. When you come to work, you go into the castle and you sit on your throne. You can decide, am I dropping the drawbridge? Do I let people in? Or is the drawbridge up and the moat is working? You can decide, I'm in charge. I'm deciding what's a yes and a no. The peasants come and they bring to me their problems. I don't mean like that by a class thing. It could also be other kings, right? Whatever. They bring me their issues and I can decree if this is something I will handle today or if it is not. But I am in charge of me. I am the sovereign of my own life. And in the great hall of feasting, I will now depart and go enjoy time with my people and have food and drink and much merriment. And the drawbridge comes up. Sometimes just a little fun imagery creates that dissonance between I hate my job, things suck, and I get to choose. Because literally you do get to choose. You can keep going every day and hating it. You can quit and then never have to go there again. Or there might be a middle path where you go there, but you stop hating it. You go there and you start loving you. You go there and you start navigating differently. You go there and ask for what you need. You go there and start saying, I know that you want me to say yes, but if I say yes to this, something else is a no. I am not able to magically create more bandwidth or productivity for me and my team. So I'm going to need some help with either prioritizing or resourcing. It means some things won't get done or we're going to get more help to get things done. But the current paradigm is impossible. And so I'm sharing that with you as I'm sovereign of this nation, wearing my crown, asking you, king of adjacent kingdom, how are we going to handle this land war? You have that power. If you don't think you do, then it's possible that changing the circumstances will change everything. Finding a better job and a better job boss might be what is needed. But chances are there's a bit of a bypass if you're not handling your own resistance to being unpopular or asking for what you need, advocating for yourself, not pleasing people, not being perfectly perfect. Okay. So we've covered a lot. We've talked about the most important thing is for you to first deal with the emotional onslaught of the tricky emotions when you're feeling triggered, when you're in drama. How do you calm your central nervous system? What's the long game? How do you cope with stress? The second thing, though, is what action will you take once you clear the decks, once you're able to have your snow globe clear and you can have a clear thought? What will you do? Can you ask for what you need? Can you say no? Can you protect your energy? What decisions can you make? What assumptions are you making about what you have to do? And could they be challenged first by you and then shared with a wider network? Your boss, your peers, your coworkers, the leadership team. Present what's not working, what isn't tenable, and be willing to say, we can't get it all done anymore, or we can't get it done in the time frame that you said. Because here's a hint, bosses that don't hear that will continue to shovel more workload your way until you say you can't do it. It's your job to actually say what is in and is out. All right, I'd like to hear from y'all. We only have a minute or two. What do you think your biggest takeaway might be from what I shared, or what do you want to know more about in this quick hour that we were together? I'd like to see some comments. Did learning about the drama triangle help you? And are you not letting yourself be wrong if you felt like a victim for a long time? Comments coming in. When I assert myself and ask for what I need. Yeah, we can ask, why am I not doing that more often? Why am I not doing that every single day? Another comment, there's so much disconnecting my worth from work, people pleasing. Yeah. See how it's an inside job? Because we just feel like we don't have that option because I feel so tied to them liking what I do. Like, I don't know how to decouple that. That's a little bit of a untangling that can happen when you just gently start to see you already are good enough. Reading another comment, I'd like to have some advice on how to handle some very aggressive personalities. Great. You could just be curious. You're inside your snow globe. Wow, they're all stirred up. Look at all the snow going on in their little environments. What's going on for you, person? I understand that you're coming at me with a lot of urgency. I'm curious about where that's coming from and what we can do about it. I can let you know what's possible. That might be a deeper conversation. Another comment. There's so much toxicity and I don't play politics well. Fair enough. That's you like deciding I'm coming in as queen of my own castle. I'm the sovereign of my body. Today I'm going to tend to my feelings. Today I'm going to make sure I keep as even keel as possible. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to do some happiness hormone checks. I'm going to try to slow my roll. We might need to unpack this in a conversation. And this is where last minute I will share with you that only for this weekend, some of you are actually current clients and you know this. I will offer to those of you who have registered, I have 5 spots available for coaching for a special 2-month little burst. So if you're not sure that coaching's for you or that you want to enter like a big commitment, this is a buy one, get one 2-month thing that this little QR code gets you access to. I'm going to email you about it, but it's basically you getting coached by me for 2 months, both personally, privately, one-on-one, and inside my group container. Some of you know it, Completely Confident Leadership. We meet twice a week where you can ask me anything and we can get underneath what is it that's bothering you? What is it that's really hard for you to uncouple? Pull it out by the root and bring on some healing. Chances are just a 2-month assessment coaching is all you need. If it's not, we can carry on. But that's what I have for you today. I see a lot of you have to bounce. I will be emailing you. You can email me back and ask me anything. If there's a resource that you wanted, if there was something that you heard me mention that you didn't get all of the info, yeah, Jen, I'll send you an email. Sorry about that. With the link. But I'm only offering it through this weekend because it's a special deal and I only have 5 spots for reals. I don't do that BS thing where like, get it now. It's going to be for July and August, and that's what I got. All right. I'm sending you guys off with so much love. You already have everything you need. You just need to Trust yourself and prioritize yourself. And if you need, come get coaching and I'll help you further. All right, gals, for now, go well and thank you so much for joining.